Welcome, bent riders around the world. My name is Gary Solomon, and you're watching the Laidback Bike Report. Hey everybody, I'm coming to you live from the Laidback Bike Studios in Pickerington, Ohio, where we broadcast every month, producing a video that can be viewed later on YouTube. It really helps us out when you subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can do that by clicking on the little red subscribe button that you'll see in the lower right-hand corner. I think that's the lower right-hand corner right there of your screen. If you'd like to chip in a buck or two to help us out on this webcast, you can find out more by clicking on the little letter I you'll see in the upper right of your screen on the YouTube video that we'll produce after this live broadcast. And we'd love to have you folks watching live today be a part of the show by asking questions and making comments. So here's how you can do that. If you are watching on Google+, the comments below the picture are where you can leave your questions or comments, and we will get a chance to see those and we can present them to our guests. If you're watching on the YouTube video page, you will see comments there below the picture as well. Leave your comments and questions there, and we will also see those and hopefully be able to bring those up in the show. So please be a part of the show. We like to keep it active and up to date. The show is going to be broken into 4 sections as usual. We'll have the presentation interview of a special guest, or guests in this case. We'll have a report from the Laidback Sports Desk. We'll have an open question and answer period from the audience. And then we'll take care of some Google Plus recumbent community business and some announcements for the show at the very end. At this point, I'd like to introduce our illustrious panel. First of all, we have our moderator of the Bent Society of Southern Florida community on Google+, who helps produce this webcast and handles our live comments. That's Carl Kidd right there. Hi, Carl.
Hi, Gary. Welcome from South Florida.
Righty. Hey, Carl. And our second panelist, unfortunately, is not with us tonight. It's Lars Kamm from Salzgitter, Germany. The hour is a little late in Salzgitter right now, I think 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. So unfortunately, Carl won't be with us. He'll be back next month, so we look forward to seeing him then. Next, from Sayre, Pennsylvania, is our Laidback Sports Anchor Desk man, Denny Voorhees. Hey, Denny.
Hi, how you doing, guys? Good to be back this month.
All right, it's good to have you, Denny. And lastly, the most recognized face in the recumbent community, the esteemed co-editor of Bent Rider, Larry Varney. Hi, Larry.
Hi, Gary. Great to be here. It's a nice sunny evening in northern Kentucky and a little chilly, but it's better than it was last night. No wind. So good to be on the show.
Right. You know, a lot of us have had some terrible winds. I know we had huge storms with 50, 60-mile-an-hour winds, so not ideal for riding your bike, or at least staying upright on that bike. Oh, I used that word. Sorry. All right. Today, we're going to talk about 2 amazing guests. Our 2 guests today are a team. As a married couple, they lead their remarkable family in ways with which most of us can easily identify. But this overachieving couple have taken on challenges that encompass building a business, riding their own brand of recumbent bikes in grueling ultracycling events, and creating a worthy charity inspired by a family member stricken by a deadly disease. Through incredibly hard work and perseverance, they not only succeeded all this, but continue to inspire others by their example. Bent Riders, we are so happy to have as our guest this month the CEO and the director of Cruzbike, Maria and Jim Parker. Welcome, Maria and Jim. Hi.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having us.
Thanks, Gary. Pleasure to be here.
You too, Jim. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to do an interview, and since we have the 2 of you, I think we'll split you up to start out with, and ladies first. So if you wouldn't mind, Maria, let's start with you.
Sure.
I want to talk a little bit about your athletic background. So clearly most that are watching here today know you as quite a recumbent athlete, but let's go back a little way. So, have you always participated in athletics of some kind?
No, no. In fact, my first grade PE teacher referred to me as a jelly bean because I was very lazy, and I didn't do athletics at all until I had kids. And then I started running because I needed an excuse to be away from my 4 children for at least an hour every day. So I started running and just really enjoyed that, but just was a very much middle of the pack runner. I've never done anything particularly spectacular. I'm good. I tend to be good at the long, slow sports. I don't have much explosive power in me. And then, of course, the running led to other things. I got into triathlons for a brief moment. That led to the cycling and
well, that's kind of where I was going here. Let's talk about your riding a bike. Maybe as a kid, I assume you rode a bike, but was then when you became the doing the triathlete stuff? Is that when you really started riding a bike?
Yes, that's exactly what happened. I liked running, and I thought it would be fun to do. Triathlons were just starting to grow then, and so I entered a sprint triathlon. I think I rode a mountain bike in it. And then I thought, well, if you had a good bike, you could go faster, and so I started riding. And Jim, I was trying to get Jim to train with me. He would run with me a little bit, but I wanted him to ride, and he was not interested at all in riding an upright bike, and that's what led us to recumbents. He did his research and decided that a recumbent bike was the bike for him.
That was going to be my very next question. So we talked about your bike. So yeah, so how did that? Tell us about. Walk us through the story about your first riding a recumbent.
So Jim is extremely thorough, and he has a great analytic mind. And he said, "No way am I getting on an upright bike. I think I want a recumbent bike." And so he spent literally 6 months, almost every day, doing research. And he came across this kit that you could buy that you could convert a Y-frame mountain bike into a recumbent bike. And he bought it. And he bought a cheap bike from Walmart. I think it was a $150 bike from Walmart, and he converted it. And I thought it was the ugliest thing I'd ever seen. I said, "I'll never be caught dead on one of those." And so but he was always smiling when he was riding. He did start riding with me. We started riding together, and he was having so much more fun than I was. My butt was hurting, and my wrists were hurting, and my neck was hurting, and he was just having a good old time on the recumbent next to me. So one day, probably 3 or 4 months after he started riding the converted recumbent, I said, "All right, my wrists were hurting that day." I said, "Let's switch." And so I started riding, and I had the experience. I just couldn't stop smiling, and it reminded me a lot of I remember turning 7 years old, and for my birthday, I got my first, really kind of new two-wheeler, and the hubs worked really well, and prior to that, I'd gotten a hand-me-down from one of my older brothers or sisters, but so that was a new bike, and I remember going out of the driveway and riding 3 blocks away and feeling the freedom and joy of the wind in my hair, just that feeling we can all relate to, when you first start riding a bike and you feel comfortable on it. Well, I got that back when I was riding the recumbent. It was like being a kid again, and so much of riding a regular upright bike for me was about managing my discomfort, managing the discomfort in my wrist or my neck or my butt or whatever, and I think that's true for a lot of people who ride upright bikes. But when I was on the recumbent, I wasn't managing pain, I was just enjoying the wind in my hair and the beauty of things going by, and I said, "I need one of these." Jim got me one, and that's how I got involved in Cruzbike.
All right, very nice. So at some point you went from this really enjoyable, like epiphanal kind of change on the bike and enjoying it so much, and something inside you said, "I got to just keep doing this like for a very long distance." like Like, because I don't feel pain anymore, so evidently I need to find out where the pain is, right? Tell me a little bit about what compelled you to start ultracycling. Where did that all come from?
Maybe I should start.
You go ahead,
Jim.
Jim.
Feel free to jump in, Jim, if you.
So after Maria got her kit built cruise bike, we rode on. It was cyclocross North Carolina.
Cycle and see. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and what we noticed was that we were passing the other recumbents going up the hills. You know, that ride starts in the mountains of North Carolina, finishes in the flatlands of eastern North Carolina, right on the coast. And me, being totally naive, thought that the good people of Bent Rider Online would really love to hear me write up my account of that, and that we just passed everybody going up the hills, especially the other recumbents, and there's a lot of recumbents on that ride. Well, that did not really go over very well on Bent Rider Online.
What do you mean, Jim?
I guess there's certain things that are taboo to talk about, and that was one of them. I found was that just to say one bike is better than another bike offends a lot of people. But really, what people said was, which was very good advice, and this is what I took to heart. It was, well, that was just a ride. So, you know, that's just an anecdotal story. It's just a tour. The people you pass were, you know, probably not working hard, not trying hard. What you need to do if you want to make that claim is you need to enter a race, which has, you know, timing. People are competitive. They're tapered. They're trying to do well in the race, so you need to enter a race. So that's what we looked around for. Okay, I want to do a race. I want to find a race that has hills. That was my criteria, and that would permit our bikes to ride. And to find a actually timed, official, sanctioned race with hills in our time frame, the only race we could find was up in New York State, the Saratoga Springs area, Schuylerville. The Hudson River Ramble. It's a UMCA event, it's a 12-hour event. So we had never done any kind of a pure bicycle race event, just, you know, the little triathlons that had the bike part of them. So we went up for that, and that was fairly recently. That was what, 2009, Maria? I think 2009 was our first race, and Maria set the course record on it. She went faster than any woman on any bike had ever gone on that course. I think they changed the course, but I think she's went the fastest. That was her.
The determination at that point then was that you would do this together. This is something you were going to do together. You would enter.
Yeah. So we just rolled up there with, totally green. We just rolled up there. We took our youngest son went with us, and I entered the 12. We both entered the 12 hour. It was an incredibly windy day. I mean, it was literally bending the trees over, lightning, thunder, driving rain for part of the 12 hours. It was incredible. It was very hilly, very windy. A loop course up there, and even despite those conditions, you know, I placed 5th overall, which was good for me. But Maria, you know, set the course record, and that was kind of a clarion call, kind of a star is born thing. It's like, Maria, you know, you have a talent for this this climbing thing. So then we took it from there, and she enjoyed it. She liked the challenge. She used to like to run marathons. She does like the distance events, but that was the first race that it wasn't just like, oh, well, you did well, you know, you placed in the top 3, but her right out of the gate, first race, hilly course, setting the course record for any kind of bike was pretty amazing.
Isn't that something that you just suddenly find something like that just clicks? That's amazing. Let me ask a question, Maria. Let's continue on the ultracycling subject here. So obviously since then you have done many races and been very successful, and we're not going to go through all the records and all that, but I want to ask some maybe more philosophical questions. First of all, now that you've been riding for a while and you've, I assume, met other women ultracycling racers, do you have some that inspire you, or some that early on inspired you as you were watching their careers?
Oh, that's a great question. Yeah, Jackie Schlitter is amazing, and and I think we have a great friendship as well as sort of competitive, sort of, thing going on too. But it's mostly friendly. I've always admired Shauna Hogan. Any woman out there doing amazing things is inspirational. Right now, Sarah Cooper has me just fascinated. She's an incredible athlete, much better athlete than I am. I think we wanted to show that the bike was fast, and I was a handy tool for that because I had the time and the energy and the desire to enter the races. But let's face it, it's a small pond. It's easy to be a big fish in a small pond, but I'm glad that this fish is there on our bike because I think it has sort of shown the platform. But yeah, I admire, really tough women, and I aspire to be one.
Okay, yeah, let's keep swimming up this stream as fish and talk. So you mentioned Jackie Schlitter and that you're friends, and you have a little competitive thing going on. So does this environment tend to forge friendships, close friendships, or does the competitiveness kind of keep it, at arm's length?
I think it depends on the individuals, but in general, I think it does tend to forge friendships. We all want to. Those of us who are participating in these events put a lot of time and preparation, and we want to do well. So and it hurts not to do well. So if there's some bad feelings, it probably just comes from disappointment. But no, I would generally say that I love women in sports. I love to admire other women in sports. So, there's some tough, there's occasionally I'm not gonna lie. There's occasionally I've run into to a person who I can't, that we don't click or whatever. But in general, I'd say the ultracycling is full of wonderful people.
And there's a respect because of the
Right.
bond. You guys know what it takes to get where you are, right? These are
Right.
not something someone rolls up on a bike and just suddenly starts racing. There's so many things involved and so much work,
Right.
as you said. So, all right, let's delve a little bit into when you're racing. So here you are, you're on your cruise bike and you're pedaling, and it's 12 hours or 24 hours or RAAM where you're going day after day, and it's dark and you're exhausted.
Yeah.
I want you to walk me through what does that feel like inside to have to deal with that?
That's a really great question, and I think that I have a special gift for being able to I suffer well, is what I say. Maybe it's my Catholic upbringing, but it hurts. I'm gonna do Bessie's Creek this weekend, and I'm in a sense I'm dreading it. I don't go into these things going, oh yeah, it's going to be so fun, because I remember, the 3 o'clock in the mornings when you're really tired and you're cold or whatever. So, but I think what you're really asking me is, how do I keep going, and and the answer is that there's a couple of things going on lately, because I'm not just racing for Cruzbike, I'm racing for 3,000 miles to a cure. I am aware that there are people out there with brain cancer who watch me and who care about what I do. So that's one thing that keeps me going, because I know that there are others who care and who it means a lot to that I am out there trying to make a difference for brain cancer research. And the other thing is I play all kinds of little tricks in my mind, and I break everything down into teeny tiny bits. So if I'm out there and I'm struggling, I just try really to get to the next mailbox or the next tree, and then I say, okay, yay, got there. Every time I get to the next little thing that I've set out for myself to get to, then I feel a little burst of accomplishment. I try not to think about the whole thing, because of course, if you're 3 hours into a 24-hour race, that's difficult, and
it's too big a chunk to deal with. I'm sure.
Yeah. So I'm really good at eating an elephant.
Yeah, yeah. So, so that's kind of we talked about a little bit about your physical training. That goes without saying, and everyone has to do that.
Right.
But it's all about the mental toughness, and so that's how you go about dealing with the issues that those mental issues that are the biggest part of success in what you do,
Right.
I guess.
Right. It's,
All right.
yeah.
So now, final question on this. So you deal with you've developed this toughness, the physical and mental toughness. How do you apply that in your everyday life? I'm sure you do. How does that help you every day?
Oh, yeah, that's good. I probably had the mental toughness before I started riding because I have 4 kids. And but yeah, I mean, I tend to see how I can put it that's really easy to understand. If I'm doing something that I don't want to do, but I'm doing it for a reason that's more important than myself or my own comfort at that moment, I just remind myself of that, and I guess I tell myself, hey, you're tough. You can get through this hard thing. You can do this. I coach myself constantly. My inner dialogue is, and one of the reasons I don't listen to music a lot when I ride is because I'm constantly managing my thoughts and trying to think, okay, no, that's a negative thought. That's not going to go there. What's the truth? The truth is you're tough. The truth is you're doing this for other people who are suffering from brain cancer. The truth is you can do this. The truth is all you got to get to do is to that next tree or whatever. And so I try to and that's how I do life too. If I'm doing something hard, I really try not to complain. I do whine some, just ask Jim. But I just say, okay, this is just something I got to do. It's set out in front of me, almost to a fault. I think sometimes.
But certainly, you can point to all the accomplishments that the very tough goals that you've attained, and to help you in those times. I think.
Yeah.
It's
Absolutely.
clearly
I
that
can
you can do that.
remember when I've done. Yeah,
Right.
that's true.
Right. All right. Let's talk more specifically about one of those times. Let's go back a couple of years, almost 3, to RAAM 2013, which I think many folks consider the high point of your competitive career. Maybe you would disagree, but so anyways, this story is just incredible. It's told in a movie that your nephew created called Hope, which I really would like to encourage all of our viewers to take a look at. That link, along with all the links that we discuss, Cruzbike, everything else today, will be in the description of the YouTube video afterwards, so you can easily find these and head over there. So the movie Hope, which your nephew made, was just a great description of what happened. But if you could just take a few minutes, if you would, in your own words, and tell us what it was like to do RAAM 2013 and how it involved your sister and this cause of yours, the 3,000 miles to a cure. How did that all come about, and how did that go down?
Well, I never wanted to do RAAM. We had considered it. I was doing these other ultra events, but I just thought it was too expensive and too much logistical, stuff. And so, but Jenny, my sister, she was 10 months older than I am, and we were always very close. Really, I'd consider her my best friend. Was diagnosed with brain cancer. That's Jenny, and in fact, this weekend would have been her birthday, and I miss her terribly, as terribly today as I ever have. But in any case, she was diagnosed with brain cancer, and I was devastated and angry and wanted to do something. I really, in my heart, thought that if I could raise enough money quickly, we could find a cure and maybe cure her. And so Jim and I talked about it, and I said, I think I want to do RAAM. I want to raise money for brain cancer research. I want to raise $1 million. And so everything about RAAM is about that. And it was more than just about Jenny after a while. It was about this whole community of people suffering from brain cancer. So, RAAM was the hardest thing I've ever done. But it was about trying to raise money for brain cancer research. I couldn't have done it outside of having this, big thing outside of me. Otherwise, I would have just folded. It's just really, really, really tough. So I wanted to cure Jenny, and then I wanted to cure everybody else who came into my life because of that.
So tell us, which, you can't think of a more amazing reason to do it. Now let's talk a little bit about the race itself. So can you tell us about the start and how it all went as you remember?
Yeah, I mean, the start was very exciting. We felt like we were prepared, and I almost immediately ran into trouble with my nutrition. I don't know what I thought, it was going to be like, but I was vomiting, and what I was eating wasn't agreeing with me. That the desert, the first climb was fine. I did it on adrenaline. The big descent. The glass elevator was beautiful, but then the desert was just unending, and I couldn't keep any food down, and I think we were really struggling. And I took a little time off and was able to sort of manage my stomach and nutrition issues, and started to feel really good, and I had sort of fallen back in the field, and I was starting to catch up with people and feeling really good. We're coming out of Flagstaff, and I just remember that was a fabulous time, making that long descent out of Flagstaff. And then we got into Tuba City, and everybody knows the story by now, but the follow vehicle was hit. And my son and two crew members who I cared for deeply were in the car and injured and shocked, and and we dropped out of the race. It seemed like the only thing to do, and so that was and that was its own kind of devastation. And well, the next day we had made this plan that we would sort of do it ceremonially and not do it as a race.
Just get back on the course and ride.
Yeah. And Jim wanted to skip the section on the Navajo Nation, which was very, very dangerous, where we had been hit. And so we went there, and this is all in the movie, and I hope people will watch the movie. But we went to this junkyard where the car had been towed, and we were kind of sorting through stuff and trying to find some stuff so that we could get back on the road. And as we were getting got everything, we got back on the road, and it was just a few miles from the junkyard where I'd had the accident. I said, I'm not going to feel right unless we do every meter of this race, every foot of it. So please let me start right here where the accident happened. And I was surprised because I thought Jim would give me a hard time, but he said, okay. And so he dropped me off, and then he said, as I was cycling off, I had my headphones, and he said, let's try to see, since you're going to do this, let's see if they'll let us back in the race. And I said, you can't un-DNF. He said, well, we can try. And so they called race headquarters, and RAAM was good enough to let us back in the race. And after that, it was so motivating. And then that's when the community really came out, and everybody was so excited that I was back in. It was really exciting, and so I just made incredible progress for the next several days. And as I caught up to a lot of the other contenders and passed many of them, and did really well. It didn't make it any easier. It was still
you still had your issues as you went along, but you found this new motivation that really, it's the greatest turnaround in ultracycling. I think unarguably that is it. So, all right, let's take it towards the end here. So now you're getting close. You've managed to. Can you take it from when you passed the lady who was ahead of you in leading the race?
Yeah, I'm not.
Or I think she.
I'm not sure what I remember. I remember passing several of the ladies. Some of them dropped out later.
Right.
I didn't really know where I was in the standings at that point. They may have been telling me, but at that point, all I cared about was getting to the finish line, because as I said, the community, the brain cancers community had risen up, and I was getting these, posts on my Facebook page, and
They were reading you Facebook posts of encouragement.
I couldn't have done it without that. That was sort of the miracle of RAAM,
Right.
and I think that's indeed why Rob White was able to finish last year. These people all over the place, who don't know anything about cycling or RAAM or anything, but they're watching because they know that you're out there trying to do something for them, and they're fighting this very dire prognosis. So anyway, yeah, they were reading to me, and I was just trying to, if I would get down, I'd say, read me some more, read me some more.
All right, so this got you
Yeah.
got you right to the finish. Tell us about the finish. Tell us about the final few miles and what that was like.
Well, it's beautiful, going those last few miles. You're going to finish in time. I remember it was raining, and the follow vehicle had to get gas. We were a little disorganized, and so my youngest son, Will, stopped with me, and because we couldn't continue for that moment, and I was just, at that point, I was complaining, I'm so tired, this last bit is so long. Those last 20 miles seem to go on forever. And he said, Mom, we're all tired. He said, let's just get this thing done. And I thought, yeah, I forgot that the crew was as exhausted as I was. But then when we, as I got to the gas station, which is the finish, and then there's the sort of ceremonial finish, my two daughters were there, who had been with me who had been with me a lot of it, and and our crew chief was there, and Jim had to go ahead, but I remember that moment at the gas station, just thinking, I have never felt this happy in my whole life. Just the relief that it was over, because it had been such a tough thing, and just knowing that I'd raised a lot of money, it was an incredible moment. And then, of course, crossing the finish line and seeing all the family, and my mom and dad came, and they totally don't get this, believe me. For them to support me in this, I mean, they really didn't want me to do it. So they came, and many friends and family, people in the brain cancer community were there. That was an incredible, beautiful moment.
And so amazingly deserved. It's that, again, shown in the film, and I like at this point, if we can, to let's move on to talk a little bit about why, what did motivate you to do all this. It's 3,000 miles to a cure. So tell me about, you formed this. Tell me a little bit about how you formed it, and how it's doing.
Well, thank you for asking that question. So we think Race Across America is a particularly great analogy for the fight against brain cancer, because it is so tough. The brain cancer, it's you get that diagnosis, and you're going to die, and it's not a nice, pretty death. It's a long, slow death where you lose your brain, and you lose your personality, and you lose everything. And so we think RAAM is a really great analogy for it. RAAM, of course, not as tough as having brain cancer, but it's great. People understand that when you're doing RAAM, you're suffering. And so we started the charity, and we have not raised $1 million yet, but we're determined to continue. We're at close to 200,000, and the great thing to me is that other RAAM riders recognize the value of racing for something bigger than yourself, and they've come to us. And so this, the year after I did it, Jackie Schlitter did it, and for 3,000 miles to a cure, and that was such an honor for me to observe some of that. Unfortunately, my sister died during Jackie's RAAM attempt, and by that point, Jackie had become so invested in Jenny and me. I think that was a devastating blow for her, and it made it very hard for her, and she was unable to finish. But then last year, Rob White did it, and he's told us, we're working on a film about his RAAM right now, and he said many times, the first the first 2 days were for me, and the rest was all for people struggling with brain cancer, because you just need that. And I'm excited this year because we actually have 2 riders in RAAM and a rider in RAW who are doing who are raising money for 3,000 miles.
And I want to get to more specifics on that in a minute. I'd like to finish up with the 3,000 miles to cure specifically. So, tell us where you're going to raise this money. Now, tell us what your ideas are for using. Where's this money going to go? What's the plan?
All of the money that we raise goes to research. There's a need for support for people who have brain cancer, but I'm not interested in funding that. I want a cure. I want a cure now, yesterday, tomorrow, in my lifetime. No, in the next 2 years, please. So we work with an organization called Accelerate Brain Cancer Cure that funds kind of home run type research that might not get funding through some of the slower moving larger organizations like the National Institutes of Health. So so every dollar that anybody donates goes directly to research. We have people, including Jim and I and our company, that cover our administrative costs. So if you donate to 3,000 Miles to a Cure, every dollar will go to fund research. And there is a lot of promising research out there, but it's expensive, and if it's not a pharmaceutical, then it doesn't get funded. So some of the more promising research, around diet and supplements is very expensive, and it's not getting funded. So you can be assured that your money will go to research, and I'm not deciding what research that is. An organization far more qualified to do that is deciding where that money is going.
Okay. So how can people help here? I've got the panel up here now. It's the website is www.3000milestoacure.com.
Right.
And so people can go there and make donations, read more about it right there. And
yeah.
As I said earlier, we're gonna have that link in the description of the YouTube video. So if you don't write that down now watching, we will have that there. You can click on it later on. So, all right.
I'm sorry. Let me just say one
sure,
more
please.
thing. We really, the Hope film is free. It takes about 40 minutes to watch, and I encourage everybody who hasn't seen it to just click on it and watch it. I think it's not a depressing movie. It's a very upbeat movie. And then I also encourage anybody who's watching this, follow us during RAAM. We're going to be doing a lot of video and follow our riders. It'll be exciting.
That's where I'm going actually.
Okay.
With this, Maria. I want to ask you about it. Let's get to RAAM 2016 now. This year's RAAM. Tell us when it's going to be. Tell us about the plan for Cruzbike and 3,000 Miles to a Cure. What's going on with RAAM this year?
Okay, so 3,000 Miles to a Cure we're really fortunate to have 2 RAAM riders. We've got Rob DeCoo, who's a guy from California with the biggest heart of anybody I've ever met, and he's going to be riding Recumbent, actually several Recumbents probably during his attempt, and he's already raised a lot of money, and he has a friend who died of brain cancer, and that friend's mother will be traveling with us on the media team during RAAM. So, and I'll be on the media team during RAAM. And we also have Marshall Reeves, who's a really outrageously tough rider from Florida who's attempted RAAM twice. So this will be his 3rd attempt, and he came to us, and he's really inspired by the cause as well. So we're excited to have both those guys during RAAM. And this year we also have a raw rider riding for 3,000 Miles to a Cure, and that's Ben Tomlin, and he'll be riding a Cruzbike. So we're really excited, and we'll have lots of good media coverage. We have media interns that we've recruited from colleges around the country who will be taking pictures and writing and film, and so I think.
Will this all be on the 3,000 Miles to a Cure site or Cruzbike or both? Where will people be able to?
3,000 Miles to a Cure site and our Facebook page, and anybody who followed us last year knows what close coverage we had with Rob White. You'll be able to be really up close and personal with these riders. So yeah, follow us on 3,000 Miles to a Cure on our Facebook page. We'll also be when there's events that have to do with Cruzbike, of course, we'll be sharing those on the Cruzbike page as well.
Very, very good. Denny, did you have any final RAM questions? I think that was pretty thorough, but did you have anything on that?
No, that really was. I was. We talked a little bit earlier about it, and sounds like you got a stellar bunch there. It'll be fun. We'll be there, so we'll be looking at you guys from time to time.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Denny is going to be part of the officiating crew, so don't try anything funny, you know.
Yeah, really.
Right,
we never do. We're
honest you're honest. You're very honest. Okay.
Very good. All right, Maria, thank you so much for your heartfelt chat about all these issues, some of which I know are very sensitive for you, and I appreciate your frankness and telling us all about these things that are so important to you and to the company, and let's move along to Jim, who if he's not snoozing away at this point, Jim, let me ask you a few questions. We're going to talk about Cruzbike now. Let's talk about you specifically first. You are a medical doctor. Give me an idea what the path was that led you from radiology to recumbent bike development. How did that happen?
Well, Maria kind of told the story a little bit about me doing the research. This was 2005, really, where I started researching recumbents and read on some obscure forum about the kit, the Cruzbike kit that the John Tollers was designing or producing in a small metal shop in Perth, Australia, and that's, she mentions that's how we got started. I ordered that kit, put it on with an inexpensive Walmart mountain bike, and fell in love with it and started cycling farther than I had ever gone before. So I'm still in active practice as a radiologist, MD. I work at a very, very busy hospital in a sort of a rural county. So our kids are grown. Maria and I have 4 kids, so we have time. Now that the kids are gone, we have lots of time for other things other than just my work at the hospital. So
let's talk about you eventually meet John Tollhurst? Let's talk about the company. How did that come to be?
Yeah, okay, so after we got the second kit, Maria mentioned we got one for her and built that up. Then we started riding together farther than we'd ever ridden a bike. And when I was talking great distances, maybe we would go for a 30-mile ride or a 40-mile ride, which back in those days that seemed like just unbelievable that somebody could ride a bike, that we could actually ride a bike 30, 40 miles. So I said to Maria, I said, this is too great a secret to keep from the world. This needs to come out, this format of bike. And so I contacted John and I said, hey, this kit's fantastic. It's changed my life and my wife's life, really. But we need very few people are going to go through the trouble that we went through to get this thing built. There was long delays in getting the kit built. Literally the kit was put together with hose clamps. I mean, there's hose clamps. They work. That's why we still use them. But Cruzbike doesn't use them, but they're very effective at what they do. But anyway, I said to John, let's start a company that makes the bike from the ground up. And he said, okay, sure. And we negotiated some payments for that, and we got that started. And he's not that far from Taiwan. I mean, at least he's a lot closer than we are, and found a nice place to work with in Taiwan. And we've been building the bike frames ever since. We've made lots of changes over the years. But one of the serendipitous things about Cruzbike is that right from the get-go, the kit was a very important part of the company up until just a few years ago when we finally discontinued it. But what the kit did for us, we had a very active group of customers that were very creative, and they would apply this kit to all kinds of different bikes. We would make recommendations. There was a very active Yahoo group that was led by Doug Burton, who I would also cite. And if I mention John Tollers, I really need to mention Doug Burton also, because the three of us really kind of guided the company through those early years. But But what we found, the mountain bike that we used just happened to put us into the right head tube angle. We didn't really understand everything about the bike at that time. We learned a lot by people's mistakes, the bikes that they made that worked well, and the bikes that they made that did not work well. In terms of, where should the center of gravity be, front to back, up, down, what head tube angle is going to work right, just so many factors. The stiffness, what are you going to make the boom out of? How can you eliminate any unnecessary motion? How to make the seat stiff and light. So I mean, a lot of these things were worked out by our customers, and we paid attention and we interacted with them, and so that we probably got 20 years of design work done in just a few years because we had all these people around the world building these bikes out of kits
and helping you to evolve the more refined bike that you build
exactly
today.
Yes.
All right, let's talk about the crux of the cruise bike, and it's the generally speaking the moving bottom bracket front wheel drive, or what you guys call the dynamic boom front wheel drive. Tell us about what is that for those that have never ridden a cruise bike.
Okay, so with our bike, the dynamic boom, there is a direct mechanical connection between the handlebars and the bottom bracket, very much like the standard bike frame. So if you are riding a standard bike and you stand up on the pedals and you pull on the handlebars, you are actually moving the bottom bracket. A standard bike is a moving bottom bracket. People don't think about that, but that's a moving bottom bracket because when you pull on the handlebars, you are moving that bottom bracket. And people, Bicycle Science, page 98, David Gordon Wilson and Jim Papadopoulos. It's like the Bible of bicycle science. In the 2004 edition, there is a nice section that explains how and why people stand up on their bike when they're climbing a hill to get more power. The upper body can assist in power production on a standard bike because if you think about the crank, I don't know if my hand gestures will add anything if they're visible, but that crank has to move.
Hold it up a little bit higher, Jim.
Okay. So basically, you have to push the pedal, the crank around. So if you're going to move the crank from the closest to you to as far away as it can go, that's if it's a 170 millimeter crank, that's 340 millimeters. You got to move it. If your arms can shorten that distance, then they're doing a certain percentage of the work. Now, according to the Bicycle Science book, they can do upwards of I think it was 20-30% of the work. That's with angling the frame up to 15 degrees to the left and 15 degrees to the right. So that's a big angle. We would never angle our frame, that front dynamic boom triangle, that many degrees. We probably angle it just a few degrees. But even if the benefit is only 1, 2, 3% additional power from the upper body, that is huge. I mean, if you can get even a little bit of assistance from the upper body to move that crank around, that's a big deal. So and people are they ask about, well, can you steer the bike while you're doing that and so forth, and does it wear your arms out? I don't want to make my arms work. Well, it's an option. Just like when you're riding a standard bike, you have an option to just sit in the saddle and spin. You can just spin. You don't have to use your upper body. You can relax your hands. And then if you want to use them, you can. Our bike's the same way. You can just spin the cranks and not use your upper body. You can ride our bikes completely no hands if you want, or very light touch on the handlebars. But if you want to, you can angle the front triangle and get more power by shortening that distance. So if I'm pushing with my left foot, if I pull simultaneously on the left handlebar, that pedal will move towards my left hip. I will shorten that distance. And if you think about a cadence of, say, if my cadence is 90, that bottom bracket would be changing direction 3 times per second. Okay, so that's not going to make the bike. If I'm going left to right, left or right 3 times a second, the bike is going to go in a perfectly straight, well, not perfectly straight line, but it's going to go imperceptibly. It's not going to be curving. It's not going to be swerving. I can ride a white line on the road. Any experienced cruise bike rider can hold a straight line while using their upper body, because it's happening so fast.
But what you're saying, Jim, is that this is adding power.
It's adding power. It's adding power.
That's basically what we need to know about.
Yeah, and it's been well worked out in just on the standard bikes.
All right, so let's go on to what may be a little bit of difficulty for people getting on the cruise bike for the first time. There is a bit of a learning curve, I think, maybe for some people. Could you talk a little bit about what that's like, and what's your experience as far as how long does it take people to get comfortable with it and begin to use it as you would suggest them using it?
It's highly variable. I've taught literally hundreds of people over the years to ride these bikes, and I have a very high success rate, but occasionally I'll have somebody who will not learn to ride it, and I can tell right away if someone will simply let the bike roll underneath them, that is, with both feet off the ground, just let it roll, then they will learn to be able to ride the bike. But occasionally I'll have people that they just, there's something about the extra weight in the front that they will not let the bike roll. I don't know. The other thing I would say, as far as people with difficulty, I would say I've seen good success with people who ride the cruise bike, and they also spend a lot of time on a diamond frame bike. Just to mention one would be Kevin Gamble, who is just tearing up the ultracycling world right now on a cruise bike. And excuse me, I'm going to drink a little water here.
That's fine.
But
well, I don't want to overstate the difficulty of learning to ride it. It's not hard to ride, and almost anybody can ride it.
Almost anybody can ride it.
Anybody can ride a regular bike, can ride a cruise bike.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the only thing I was going to say was people who have not ridden any bike for a long time, they're going to have trouble, just because you need to be able to balance a two-wheel bike. So I've had difficulty with people who've not been riding at all, and people who ride other recumbents, rear-wheel drive recumbents. My experience is that they have not done as well as if they either just rode the cruise bike or rode a cruise bike and a standard bike. I think something about trying to do both worlds, the rear-wheel drive recumbent and the front-wheel drive, is not particularly compatible. That's just my opinion. I can't prove it, but I've just noticed that.
Okay. I want to delve into performance specific a little bit, and as I'm about to ask a question, I have a question here. Let's pop that on the screen. Denny, can you hit me on that? And there we go. So this is from Jesse Groves. It says, I think you once said the moving bottom bracket can add 3% power. Is there any specific data to back this up? Do you have a power meter comparison? Is that number just an estimate?
I think that number was an estimate based on geometrical analysis. That's probably from we have a forum, and there's a section there on technical talk, and I think that's based on measuring the displacement that the arms can do. So if you just look at the distance that the crank's going to rotate, you can calculate that 3% number. I think came from just calculating the contribution of the arms just on the distance it's traveling.
So that's an estimate.
It's an estimate based on the geometry.
All right. And here's another question, more technical about riding the bike, I guess. Not so technical. Getting feet on the ground, it stops. How hard? How high? It's very technical. Jim, can you handle that technical question?
This is not an issue at all. I mean, getting feet on the ground, it's not. I've never had any problem with that, or known anybody to really have trouble with that. I mean, if you're clipped in, you got to clip out.
You should be able to get your feet down, right? I mean,
it takes a split second to get your feet to the ground. It's not really a problem.
Okay.
Yeah, as an example, when Jim and I ride differently, and when we come to a stop, he's much more cautious than I am, and he'll unclip one foot, and I keep both feet clipped in till the very last second. And I know I have to stop, and then I can clip out and put my feet on the ground, no problem. It is. People asked us that a lot, especially people not as experienced with with a two-wheel recumbent, but it's as Jim said, it's a non-issue.
Okay. Let's move on to a question about recumbent bikes in general and racing. So there's been a long-standing ban of racing recumbent bikes that has a history that's renowned in the recumbent world. And I know that, Jim, you are an advocate of working on lifting this ban and lifting any sorts of bans in riding recumbent bikes. Can you give us a thumbnail sketch of the history of this ban and tell us what's going on now with you and how you're trying to overcome these bans?
Well, a quick history on the ban. It occurred in 1934 after Francis Fowler was winning some major races in Europe. In defense of the French, we like to bash the French people, but the president of the UCI, this was a UCI ban, Union Cycliste Internationale. The head of the UCI actually he was in favor of allowing recumbents, but unfortunately his opinion did not prevail, and it was a very close vote too. So, but his statement on this was the UCI's purpose is not to set the design of the bicycle, but to make sure that our races are fair. And let the bicycle evolve. Something to that effect is what he said, and that was exactly what they should have done. But for whatever reason, some people think it was the financial interest of the current bicycle companies. But if you look at what Europe was doing in 1934, across the board, they were making really horrific decisions. Okay, 1934. The Italians elected Mussolini to power. Adolf Hitler was elected democratically to power in Germany. This was a time of mass conformity, and it was a rotten time to be making these kind of decisions. And we're stuck with that 1934 decision now. And really, as more time goes on, these bikes, the standard bike is. If somebody just came out with it now, there'd never been a standard bike, and somebody just invented it, they would be sued. Their pants would be sued off because it's putting the person traveling through on a skinny tire with their head first and their tail way up in the air is just a recipe for bad injuries. It's not a good idea. So.
Not to mention the overuse injuries, the numbness of
the health aspect.
The health issues, yeah. I mean, it is a serious,
bad idea.
Very high risk, relative risk factor for erectile dysfunction in men, for genital numbness in women. The recumbent riding is so much safer. It's more available to more people.
Yeah, just take hand numbness. I don't know how many RAAM riders have told me that their hands stayed numb for months after they finished RAAM. Numbness in your hands is bad, guys.
Yeah, that's some serious trauma to incur. So, all right, let's if we can go back to the question of the ruling then. So today, let's bring it up to date. So if you want to get someone to ride a cruise bike in some sanctioned race, you can't. Where can you race cruise bikes, and where can't you race cruise bikes?
Well, the UMCA is great about allowing them to race.
That's the ultracycling
Yeah.
What is it? What does it stand for?
Ultra Marathon Cycling Association.
UMCA, right.
Yeah, great organization. And the way they handle it is they just have a different division, and which is all we're asking for. Is if people are worried about is it fair to allow recumbents to race? Fine. If you think my bike's faster than yours, then put me in a different division. I don't care. But just don't prevent us from racing. So the UMCA is good about that. Of course, Race Across America organization is excellent. They have a very good policy on that too, with just separate awards. They give an overall award and they give a separate award for the different divisions. There's lots of club rides. Like we were just in a ride down in Charleston this morning. We went off course and did an extra, 8-10 miles of bonus miles.
Very ambitious of you. That's nice.
Yeah. But so there are lots of opportunities to ride. But for sanctioned events in this country, the UMCA has the most, and that's actually an international company. They have the most. So.
The one we're most concerned about from a sales perspective is the Triathlon Association. You know, many people get into cycling because they want to do triathlons just like I did. And so we'd love to have the U.S. Triathlon Association change their rules to allow for a recumbent division. And
so
that's what we're
let's
working
assume that we are reaching a lot of bent riders who like to race here. What would you recommend that the bent riders in the community that race or that are concerned about these issues, what would be the path that they can take to help? Is there anything that you would recommend they could do?
Maria, have we posted the petition yet? Is that on?
If we haven't, we're going to post a petition, and I would say that they should contact their local race organizers, especially if they're interested in triathloning, they should contact their local USTA board member and just talk to them about it. One of the ridiculous things, I'm just going to call them out in this public forum, that the North Carolina Senior Games knocked David Wall, a recumbent rider, out of contention because he'd won several years in a row. It was fine. I mean, this is not, nobody's getting any money in the Senior Games. You get a medal in your age group. David did well. He won a couple of times, and they wrote him a letter and said, "Sorry, David, you can't compete on a recumbent bike anymore."
And this is a guy in his mid-60s. He's had bilateral hip replacement, and they've disqualified him for riding a recumbent in the Senior Games. I mean,
yeah, that's pretty lame. I don't know what to say about it. Here's what I'm going to ask you guys. When you come up with that petition, if you will send it to me, I will also post that link. And so maybe more people will be able to see that, because all of us here would like to see that sort of nonsense eliminated. So, all right, we need to move on here. Let's talk about you guys make some bikes. I understand. Is that fair to say?
Yes, we make.
All right, well let's Jim, or I guess, or Maria, whichever. But let's talk about your bikes. I've got them listed in this. Yeah, Carl's got them listed in this order. If you wouldn't mind, can you talk about the bikes here briefly? The QX10 is what we have listed first.
QX100. Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Okay, so this is our all-purpose bike. This sort of took over for the Soft Rider and the kit. This is a very robust bike with a nice suspension, plenty of travel. It's got disc brakes, the front end telescope, so you can adjust it for people of various height. It comes with a lightweight rack, and then you can upgrade to a heavy-duty rack that I believe was a 50-pound capacity. I think it's
officially 50 pounds.
50 pounds. You can put 20-inch wheels on it, 406 or 451s or 26-inch wheels. It'll take tires up to 1.95 inch. So you can put, if you want to put really fat tires and knobbies on there, you can. Just all around a great bike. It lists for $16.99, which for a fully equipped recumbent is a very good price. So that is our.
Let me just add to that the seat angle is adjustable, and that you can. The whole frame folds in half. So if you take the seat off and the rack and the rear wheel, unhinge the shock there, you can fold this thing in half and pack it down pretty small.
Okay, that sounds good.
Two chain rings, and 18 speeds,
All right, and so how about the Q559?
That is almost exactly the same as the QX100. This is not currently in production, but we still have these. It's a great bike. This one comes with the internally geared hub on that front drive wheel. So it has one chainring at the front instead of two. And that chainring happens to be elliptical, which is kind of cool. Some people really like that. It kind of smooths out the pedal stroke.
And coincidentally enough, Bill McBride just asked, so this has an internal hub, yes?
Yes, this one comes with an internally geared hub. It's the SRAM Dual Drive 2. It has 3 speeds there, which gives it a very nice wide range of gain ratios. Otherwise, the shock and the frame layout is very similar. That is our Silvio. That is our, I describe it as a fast, sexy touring bike. It has front and rear suspension. The suspension is not as robust as in the QX100, so the travel is much less, but it does take out a little bit of the road buzz. The chainstays in the front and back are made out of carbon fiber, so they can flex a little bit, and then in the back there's a rubber elastomer that absorbs some of the vibrations. In the front there is an air shock built into the fork, a monoshock into the fork.
Although we're getting away from that, probably.
Yes, you know, the front shock in most experienced riders' opinions, if you're going to have a shock, the rear is more important than the front. The front is really, you know, your spine and your head are over the back wheel. They really feel those hits, so it's better to have suspension in the back than the front.
And
but
did you have a list on that one? A list price on that one?
Yeah.
We just reduced the price on that one.
Yeah. That's sold as a frame set or as a complete bike. And Maria, do you know what those prices are?
I'm looking it up.
All right, we'll get back to that. Let's go. Yeah. Let's move on to the Vendetta, and you could tell us the price as well. Go ahead,
okay.
Jim.
The Vendetta is our race bike. It's designed for just maximum stiffness, intimidating speed and power. It's just I personally find it very comfortable. With the more upright backrest angle, I get recumbent butt after about 35, 40 miles, but I never get it on this bike because there's more weight over the back. So for me, that headrest is very comfortable. If you get it adjusted right, get the handlebars right, it just feels really good. But so there's no suspension on this bike other than a little passive suspension. If you look at the seat stay in the back, the way it's angled and welded to the hydroform main frame, you do get a little bit of flex in that, which makes the ride a little more reasonable. So, and you can put a cushion. You can put a little thin cushion on there. You can put a thicker cushion to adjust how soft your ride is.
Okay. And did we find the prices on those last?
Yeah.
You're still working on?
We just reduced the Silvio. You can now get the completely built bike for $4,100 and the frame set for $2,400. The Vendetta is $4,500 with those components, the ones we have shown on our website, and the frame set is $2,600.
Very nice. Okay, now we're going to move on to something that you guys call the holy grail of the recumbent world, which is something I've been trying to get on the show for a long time, so this is going to be good. And I'm going to have my good friend Larry Varney talk to you about this because this is right up his alley.
All
Larry,
right.
Go ahead. Take it away.
Hi. Yeah, I remember seeing this at the Recumbent CycleCon last year, and I was very disappointed that I didn't get a chance to ride on it. So I'm wondering, when's it going to come into production? How much is it going to cost? Is it a kit that you could combine with a regular Vendetta so you could go back and forth between 2 and 3 wheels fairly easily? So far, those are my main questions.
So this is prototype number 2 that you have on the screen here, and that's the one you saw at the CycleCon, Recumbent CycleCon there. So the first one had the arms, that one was a leading arm, one was a trailing arm. There's a picture of it there. And that's the one that I did some racing down in Florida at the HPRA races. And that one is extremely fast, that setup right there. But we have some issues, Larry. We have some obstacles to overcome, engineering obstacles. Okay, so the problem with the one you have pictured there is that you can't really brake it, put brakes on those wheels. Now that one you can put brakes on. The but that one you can't.
Mm.
So the other issue we really want to have, what makes a trike? I mean, I love to sit in a trike. When I sit in a trike, you just have that completely relaxed, no worries feel. All right, you're stable, and we want that with this bike. But this is designed to tilt, so we need to have a reliable tilt lock. And if you do your research and see, people have been building trikes for a long time. At least to my research, no one has come up with a really solid, reliable tilt lock system. So if somebody's out there listening and they've got one, hey, send me a link or something. But so far, that is the big one. Braking is a big issue, and the tilt lock. So that's what we're working on. I will show you a sneak peek. This has not been seen anywhere in the world yet, but see this right here. That is a CNC part.
Hold it up and hold it steady.
Well, I don't want you to see it too much because there's a patent pending on this.
All right, okay.
But so that's just to show that we are actively working on prototype number 3, which these things take time, and I know. I mean, we have people so excited about this, and we really want to come out with a product that will make these people happy they waited for it. And we want one that will attach to our two-wheel bikes. That is the goal. Now, I mean, we still have some issues to overcome. This prototype number 3 may be the answer. The prototype you saw at the Recumbent CycleCon has some issues with transferring a little too much force to the frame. It might work very well. That design might work well if it was on a purpose-built cruise bike or T-trike, but not one that's attachable. Now, we still have a plan that might work well as an attachment that will not put too much stress on the frame when cornering and so forth. So stay tuned. We are actively working on it, but the process of prototyping, getting pieces CNC'd, getting somebody to do the welding and put it together and test it out thoroughly. For a small company, and we are we're not funded by Silicon Valley or anything like that. We're not Tesla, so these things are very expensive to do, and they take a lot of time. And all I can say is that we're working on it, and we have some good ideas, and we're going to test them out.
Okay, one last thing. When you do get it ready to be sent out to be reviewed, send it to me, not to Brian, okay?
Okay.
And don't tell him I told you that.
Yeah, your secret is completely safe because you'll never see this, I'm sure. So, all right, is that it, Larry, for your questions on that?
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. You know what? Let's before we finish up here, I've got a viewer question that came via email from down in Florida, in Carl's Way here. It's from Mark Cochran. And Carl, if you can pop up the pictures that you set up here. 2 questions. Are they going to come out with a carbon frame?
Well,
inquiring minds want to know.
We have it's an issue that we have people who do not want a carbon frame actively. They're like, why would I want a carbon frame? This frame is so light and beautiful, and if I lay it down or the wind blows it over, it's not going to crack and so forth. But a carbon fiber frame is not out of the question. So all I can say is maybe we might.
Okay, that's a fair answer. There it is. You heard it here first. Maybe. The second question has to do with the steering that you guys talk about. Are they going to come out with a steering stabilizer? This is from a gentleman, I guess, who created this little spring steerer. Carl, if you have a chance to show that. But go ahead, and Jim, if you'll tell us about any stabilization ideas you guys are thinking about or have thought about.
Well, we, at the advice of our customers who've done things like this, which I love that our customers are always looking for improvements, and I appreciate that. We tried this, and we kind of liked it in terms of for me, it made riding the bike no hands even a little easier. You know, and which I love to ride no hands. I don't think this would be necessary for someone who is like really experienced on the bike and may even detract a little bit from performance. But if it made it a little easier to learn to ride the bike, I would be totally in favor of it, especially if you could, you know, take it off when you decided you didn't need it anymore. Now, this, practically speaking, too, this could help park the bike. So, like, just moving the bike around in your garage, or you're out at the gas station, you want to lean it against like a single pole, without something to keep the front wheel straight. When I lean the bike on something, I look for 3-point contact to make the bike stable. But with that, you might be able to just do 1 or 2 points of contact and keep the bike from falling over.
Very good. Okay, well answered. All right, let's wrap it up here. So if people want to try out a cruise bike, and of course you're dealers, you have a dealer network around the country, but you also do a number of shows, trade shows, maybe rallies and stuff. Can you tell us about where you will be and where people can have a chance to jump on a cruise bike and try it out for themselves?
Yeah, I'll answer that one. We don't have enough dealers, and so we struggle with giving people an opportunity to try it. Our customers are good. There's a place on our website you can sign up for a demo, and we try to hook you up with somebody close to you. But we also are trying to have several events where people can try them. And so next week in Houston, while I'm riding Betsy's Creek, we're going to have a couple of bikes there for people who want to come out and demo. We're having a rally in Portland in July, and people are welcome to come out there. We're having another event around the Philly Bike Show in November, early November, where people can try. And we're gonna, if you want to try a cruise bike, we're gonna do everything we can to get you on a cruise bike and give it a try.
Okay.
Oh, also the Recumbent convention in
CycleCon in Cincinnati, which is going to be in October of
right.
this year. So
right.
we will
right.
see you there, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Very, very good. Did you have anything that you think we might have left out, or any final thoughts, guys?
I would like to just say that we have a really great team at Cruzbike. Now, we're a very small company, but I don't know, people probably don't know this, but the company's run out of North Carolina. I do the, sort of the high-level stuff with Jim's help, but most of the hard stuff, the day-to-day stuff, is done in Portland, Oregon by Robert Holler. And he's just fabulous, and we also have a great designer right now, and we have a terrific marketing person and a guy who's in sales. Our team is coming together, and we're really excited about our potential for growth this year. There's more and more interest in cruise bike. As I mentioned before, when the show got started, people who don't know anything about recumbent bikes are coming to us and saying, "Hey, that looks cool. That looks comfortable. I'd like to try it." So thanks very much for giving us the opportunity to talk about it, Gary.
Well, Maria and Jim, it's been an absolute pleasure not only meeting you and talking to you, but learning so much about this very different kind of recumbent bike that you guys offer, and it's just been great having you on. So we're going to go on for another 10 minutes or so as you finish up, make some announcements and that sort of thing. You're very welcome to stick around and chime in if you have any questions. But in the meantime, I want to thank you both so much for joining us here on the Laidback Bike Report. We hope you'll come back again and we can talk some more with maybe new products and that sort of thing.
Thank you very much, Gary.
Thank you. Enjoyed it.
Very good. Okay, folks, I think we're going to move along quickly here to the sports report. We have Denny with some absolutely breaking news. I guess he just picked up on this a couple hours ago. Denny, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I sure am.
Let's do it.
You got me. Thank you. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Gary. Just a couple hours ago, Kent Polk, Jim Verrill, and Alex Truel finished on the first 3 places, way ahead of the field in the 170-mile Cross Florida bike event, besting the field by a wide margin.
Wow.
All three were riding recumbents, Kent and Alex on an M5s and Jim on a Carbonero 2. They covered the distance from Cocoa Beach to Weeki Wachee in just 8 hours. An incredible achievement. They're quite a ways ahead of everybody. Congratulations to them and their crew, and thanks to Christy Halverson for bringing me up to date in the picture there we just shown. Coming up in April are a couple events of note. First, the next weekend's Bessie Creek, which you guys are going to be in. That's good to hear. First off, Bessie Creek, the 6, 12, 24-hour and 511-mile race. Bessie Creek race is based in Brookshire, Texas, near the Houston area. Entered in the 511-mile race is Alan Johnson. In the 24-hour race, we have Ben Tomlin and Maria Parker and Cruzbike and Robert Page let's see, I scroll down here. Robert Page on a trike. In the 6 hours, Jim Parker, we just talked to, also Cruzbike will be racing. And good luck to all the racers entered, especially you guys. That's going to be you never know about what you're going to get down there for weather this time of year. The Calvin's Challenge 6 and 12-hour race in Springfield, Ohio, Saturday, April 30th. Should have a good field. As I reported last month, this will likely be the last Calvin's Challenge race. Longtime owners Larry and Christine Graham are stepping away from it. There are 6 recumbents entered as of March 28th in the 12-hour race, and 3 recumbent men and 1 woman registered in the 6-hour races. The field will likely increase as there's another month before the day of the race, and as always, there will be wet weather the day of race. They never have failed on that. I'll have a report on the race next month's Laidback Bike Report. Finally, news in the women's highest annual mileage record attempt. Alicia Servogel had an unfortunate encounter with a pack of dogs March 26th and has broken a collarbone.
Oh, no.
And may have to delay her upcoming hammer record attempt that was due to start in April. We here at LBBR wish her speedy recovery and hope she can pursue the record very soon. Amanda Coker of Florida is due to start her hammer attempt this month in Florida, and we'll keep you updated on her progress. So that's it for this month. Remember, stay on your bike, keep moving forward. Back to you, Gary.
And back to me. There we go. All right, folks. Denny, great job. Thank you very much for the sports report this month. Lots of good information there. At this time, we're going to go move on to some Google Plus recumbent bike riding community information. Let's get that up there for you. Oops, sorry. All right, Denny, take it away for me, will you? We're going to have the video discussion and picture of the month from the website today. Starting with the picture of the month, we have Pilius Pulcher, who shot this beautiful shot here. Recumbent in the late afternoon for fun is what he called this one, and that is just a gorgeous shot. Pilius is just cranking out the pictures. He's always out there. He lives in Germany and rides all around and takes gorgeous pictures, so we're happy to show that one. Congratulations to you. The video of the month is from Bruce Johnson. It's called Riding His Linear with Google Glasses. So in fact, he has one of those funny Google Glass items that he can wear. I think it's the old version because I think they're coming out with a new one. And this is a little video you can watch him while he rides his bike. It shows you exactly what he's seeing. So that's Bruce Johnson. Congratulations, Bruce. And the discussion of the month was from Sherry Hyde, who asked questions about how to train for a 36-mile ride. So not everyone is riding 12 hours and 24 hours. Some people are just kind of getting on the bikes and wondering, just like the Parkers talked about when they first got on their bikes, how can you even think about riding, 20, 30, 40 miles? That's where we all start. So a good discussion on that one. Thank you, Sherry, for submitting that, and they had some good answers, and congratulations on the discussion of the month. So our Google Plus community has now hit the 800 member mark, actually just yesterday. So if you can and you've joined, you haven't put your pin cushion there, fill out the little form and we will put you up and show where you live. That's not even an updated picture because we have a few members in South America now too. So all over the world, we're happy to have you all and contributing. So thanks very much. All right, I have some closing news about the Laidback Bike Report. First of all, the most exciting news in a long time for us is that we will be heading to Spezi, Germersheimer, Germany, the Spezi show at the end of this month. So we will be reporting to you. We'll be shooting lots of video interviews. We're going to try to pull off some live reporting if possible. We'll have to wait and see what we have when we get there. But definitely we'll be putting together lots of interviews on a video that I will put together probably a couple weeks after I get back from Germany. It'll take me a little bit of time, but we'll have that up on the website for you, and hope you'll enjoy that with all the interesting bikes that they have there. We will also have a GoFundMe campaign that we're continuing. We have a GoFundMe campaign that we're continuing to try to get our friend Larry Varney, who you've seen here today, to come along with me to Spezi and help out with the video and the interviews. No better person that I know of to help us out. So yeah, Larry. So if you can, if you want to help us out, we have a GoFundMe campaign. It's GoFundMe.com/Spezi. So hit us up, drop a few bucks in there, and help us get Larry to Germany. And if you put enough money in there, we might even be able to bring him back. Who knows? So what else here? Yeah, we'll be and keeping you up to date on Spezi as well. So we will be taking lots of pictures, maybe short videos in the meantime while we're there. Whether we do live reports or not, we'll be posting those on the website, our Facebook, Laidback Bike Report page, Google+, everywhere. So you'll be able to kind of keep track of us and see what we're doing before we even get that major video out. So. Okay, the next Laidback Bike Report, we're postponing a little bit because of Spezi. It'll be May 15th. We've had a little change. I'm not sure exactly what we're going to do. I think it may have something to do with a report from Spezi talking about what we've seen. So we're not real sure. We'll keep you updated on the website on what we're going to do next month. That'll be May 15th, though. Probably back to 2 p.m. On that Sunday, though. So if you'd like to appear as a panelist or a guest or know somebody who might want to appear please let us know. We would love to have you come on. I want to especially thank Brian Ball from Bent Rider for their promotional support, putting us on their blog page so you guys can watch from there as well. So thank you, Brian, as always. If you want to continue to support the work that we do here on the Laidback Bike Report, we would appreciate that. You can click on the little eye in the white circle in the upper right corner of the screen. When you do, you will see a couple of cards popping up. Clicking on them will allow you to visit our website or donate a couple of bucks to the show. Always welcomed. Subscribing to my YouTube channel is a big help as well. So you see that little red subscribe button on the video, lower right-hand corner. Please click that. That'll help us out too. Like us on our Laidback Bike Report Facebook page, and check out our website, laidbackbikereport.com, where you can see all of our past shows as well as the shows that we have coming up. You can also sign up on our mailing list there, and I'll give you the updates of what's happening before anybody else sees it. You will see it on the mailing list. So www.laidbackbikereport.com. And so until our next webcast, from all of us here at the Laidback Bike Report, so long, Bent Riders.